So one of the things, things on the list that shows us just how powerful we are in this reality is those of us who work with soil, those of us who are gardeners. Okay, now some people say they don't have a green thumb, there's all that. But when you have interactions with the soil, it is medicine. You are medicine with the soil, and the soil is medicine for you. And this is one of those very normal things that are in this human experience. When something is true to our nature and we're engaging our reality and we're engaging in the sacred connection, everything involved in that connection has a benefit. You as the gardener has the benefit. You have all sorts of negative ionic exchange. All the built up electrical tension drains from your system and into the soil. It's also something that stimulates the parasympathetic response. It's something that stimulates the nervous system in such a way that helps you de-stress and regulate your hormones and other brainwave activities. Okay, so there's lots of healing things that happen when someone is simply working in their garden, tilling soil, planting seeds, weeding. Now, I know that, taking care of a garden can be a source of stress, especially when you talk about, infestation of pests and weeds and stuff like this. But that's that's a segment, small segment of the larger experience of the gardening. Okay. So when you have someone who is working a garden, they benefit their physical body, but then so does that which they're growing. And a great example, and this is something that Vananda Shiva has talked about many times over, and I love her work. If you guys have not seen her work, I love her work. She's a woman out of India. She, I believe, is a quantum physicist, but is very invested in farming and other kinds of social issues of India. Her main battleground is keeping Monsanto and the Gates Foundation out of the food production of India and out of the medicines of India. That's one of her ways that she's really well known, because she puts up an excellent argument, and she connects the dots of, how the whole thing is hijacked, and also connects the dots on how to reclaim it, how you and I can be reclaiming the sacredness of our connection with the earth and food production and health and wellness and stuff like this. So, and I've experienced some of the things that she talks about. And one of them is that sacred connection between humans and the earth. Humans, the farmer's sweat and toil and will interacting with the earth. There's a sacred connection that happens when we are hand plowing, when we are hand planting, when we are hand harvesting, stuff like this. And the argument is that, monoculture done in these massive farms, done with all of this equipment, is supposed to produce more food. In actuality, it doesn't. It damages more soil. It creates a bigger amount of lesser quality food. And like when you go to the grocery store, most people in the West, it's very normal to go to the grocery store. That's probably where you get most of your vegetables. Now, your grocery store is stuff that, even if it's organic, chances are all of the plowing and planting and harvesting is done via machine. It's not necessarily done with hands on the plants. Now, there are some things like strawberries and certain kinds of crops that require handling, but a lot of it does not, like corn and wheat and these kinds of things. And also other fruits and vegetables like our greens and all that. Anyway, when you go into a grocery store, it's very normal to see a pack of kale, a pack of spinach, or whatever. Everything has a Q code. And we think that that is healthy, vibrant food because we don't really know what else to compare it to. And this is one of the things I love about Mexico. The sacred connection between labor and earth is still here, and therefore there is absolutely extraordinary food, abundant, strong, hearty, huge harvests. Okay, like, and I don't mean like a whole, like a quantity of gazillions of kale. I'm talking about one bunch of kale is equal to like 10 bunches of a machine created farmed kale. Okay, these massive, beautiful blooms come. And I really feel like that is a result of that labor in the soil. The soil, the plants, the seeds, the saplings respond to that interaction. So I got really spoiled here in Mexico, but even before then, I don't know if you guys remember last year, was it last year? Maybe it was the year before that. I was spending time in the Appalachian Mountains, and I was near a farming community, an Amish farming community. So I would go there for my fruits and vegetables, and I would buy a single bunch of kale. Number one, it was half the price that it was at the grocery store, and it was 3 times the size. It would not even fit in my refrigerator. I had an RV refrigerator at the time because I was in an RV, so that was very normal for that farmer's market, that where all the Amish were selling their goods, was because the labor in the soil, the labor of the farmer and the horse and the plow, the sacred connection was intact, and therefore created this superior product of fruits and vegetables that were huge and very nutritious, because the soil was so healthy, and it tasted, so much better. It lasted so much longer because it never saw the refrigerator. I would buy zucchini, these giant zucchinis. I couldn't eat them, in one sitting, and some of them wouldn't fit in my fridge. I could just set them on my table, and granted, it's hot. It was hot while I was there, and I didn't run AC regularly, but it would stay good for weeks, that zucchini. Okay, so the vegetables are more hearty and vibrant and more nutritious and more delicious, all this thing, just because of the farming practice, the sacred connection between labor and soil. Okay, so this is an example of how humanity's connection with the earth is far superior than anything technology can provide, anything that monoculture can do with this harvesting. Now, I'm not saying this to put down farmers. I'm not. Our farmers are hardworking people. I'm just saying the practices that we're told we have to do are flawed. And a lot of our farmers are in this catch-22 place where they can't, if they want to produce, they have to produce according to certain rules, or else they're not allowed to sell their crop, right? So the federal government heavily regulates and rewards the big monoculture versus the small farmer. Okay, so this is just an example of that system interfering with the miraculous nature of that sacred connection. So that's just one area, our food production. Our food production would be completely transformed if humans returned the labor to be directly with the soil again. That's a sacred connection. We also have a sacred connection with our forests, with our deserts, with our landscapes, with our waters. Okay, I had a dear friend. She prays as a major function of her spiritual practice, and she loves the earth. And I'm going to repeat the story that she was told. It's a beautiful story. For there was a period of time where she lived in California outside of Santa Barbara, and at that time she was having a revival in her life where she was all of a sudden discovering becoming more fit than she's ever been. Things in life started, she started taking control of her life in such a way where her life was nurturing her spirit, her soul. She cured herself of this very rare aggressive cancer, all this stuff. So she had a spiritual awakening and a renaissance, so to speak, revamping her life. And one of the modes that she adapted was prayer. She prayed for the earth, for the trees, for the lands every single day, and for the oceans. Now, you guys know California has wildfires. So her routine was she would ride her bike to the ocean, swim however many yards she would swim, and then ride her bike back to her home. And every time she would ride her bike back, there was an old tree that was in that was kind of in a clearing, but near a forest. And every day she prayed for that tree. Every day she prayed for that forest. And there was one day, forest fires were ravaging the mountainside, and she was concerned. And so she said extra prayers for this particular tree. It was an old growth tree, and she surrounded the tree with tobacco. She surrounded the tree with tobacco, a large circumference, and she asked for that area to be protected. So she continues her bike ride, swims in the ocean, comes back, re-ups in the prayer, so to speak. And then I think she had to go away for some time. And while she was away, she heard that the fires came through those mountains where that forest was and where that tree was. Being very concerned, as soon as she gets back home, she hops on her bike and goes back to where the tree was and where the forest was that she was praying for. And she talked about how the fire came right up to that part of the forest and stopped. And that there was burn marks that went all the way up to that tobacco circle that she drew out, and it stopped. And the tree, the old growth tree, and the surrounding foliage around it was left untouched. Now, you can imagine many things you can say about something like that, but to a multidimensional human that is aware of the sacred connection of human and earth, right? That is a validation to how potent our prayers are, how influential our intent and requests are for the life on this planet. So the way we engage in this reality has an impact on this reality, particularly with nature. It's not just nature, though, because terrestrial AI and stuff like this is also impacted by our consciousness. But I'm not there yet.